Hey everyone, welcome back to another collective moon update. We are having a new moon today in the sign of Aries. Aside from it being a new moon, there's also going to be like a bunch of planets in the sign of Aries. So I always say to check where your house is, wherever the moon is happening. Check your house. This time it's in Aries. So check your Aries house because there's going to be like 6 or 7 planets or something there, all in Aries. So that house is really going to be lit up for you. So I think it'll be useful just to know what house that is for you so you can like be vigilant to see what themes could really be coming up right now or could really be affected by the astrology. Being, like I said, all of those planets are going to be sitting in the house of Aries. So how are you guys experiencing this energy? I'm like super curious to know. Because for me, like I've been feeling a lot of aggression in the air. And, you know, Aries is ruled by Mars and Mars rules like that energy of aggression. So I'm like, does this have something to do with all of those planets being in Aries? Like, I'm just feeling like I have a really short fuse and like I really have to breathe and remind myself not everything is worthy of my attention, of my energy, you know, and like to just pick and choose my battles, move through life during these times peacefully as possible, because I just feel like I'm being tested. So let me know, how are you guys experiencing this energy? Are you guys feeling the same way or is it just me? But okay, getting into this Aries energy. So when I think about this Aries energy, what always gets prompted for me is thinking of masculine energy. And the reason being is because Aries is ruled by the planet Mars, and Mars for me represents masculinity, masculine energy. And I think masculine energy is an energy that needs to be refined, you know, is an energy that needs to be developed so that we can have proper control over it and put this energy forth in a way that is going to be positive instead of negative, because this energy has the potential to be very harmful, to be very destructive. And I think Aries is like the perfect sign really to bring these things up for me, because Aries is the first sign of the zodiac. So a lot of people can correlate Aries to being like the baby of the zodiac signs. And when you think about babies or really small children, there is kind of like a self-centeredness there. There is kind of the lack of being able to consider others, to think about others, to only be completely enthralled in their needs, what they need in the moment, their feelings. It's an energy that can be very impulsive, bold, loud, aggressive, demanding, you know? And that's normal, that's natural for babies to express themselves like that, you know, because they're babies. They haven't like developmentally reached a place where, you know, they can start being more empathetic and considerate of their surroundings and others and how they may be impacting. So I think that's a perfect energy to apply to this Aries energy, because Aries can kind of be the same way. If it's not careful, you know, it's an energy that can be very selfish, self-centered, only considerate of itself and its needs. That can be very impulsive. It doesn't think, it just does. It doesn't think about any like repercussions or consequences. It just goes in with what it wants to do in the moment. And so in order to develop, you know, that discipline or that discernment, that ability to like slow down, to make sure things are in alignment before proceeding, you need to be able to strengthen that muscle. And that's why I think a lot of masculine spiritual paths do have to do with things that are very like regimented, you know, it's very routine, it's very restrictive, because, you know, you're doing that to develop certain habits, to develop these good habits, to be able to slow down, to not only be chasing sensation, to not be distracted by the senses and wanting to please and satisfy the senses, but to be able to slow down, you know, not to be swayed or tempted off your path, but to be able to take a second to like consider, is this in alignment with my morals, with my values, with my standards, who I want to be as a person, what I want to support, protect, uplift. You know, it doesn't like get easily swayed off of its path when this masculine energy is really cultivated and developed. So I think this is a representation of what healthy masculine energy looks like, because it's an energy that you can rely on, you can count on. It's always going to be there. You know, it's not going to falter. It's not really going to let you down. And I'm not saying that, you know, it's not going to make mistakes, but if it makes mistakes, it can be accountable and it can do what it needs to do, like put the proper steps into place to make sure that it doesn't like continue making those mistakes, you know, like it's a very responsible energy, a very accountable energy. And so the more toxic representation of this masculine energy, it's just like the energy that never like grew up. It stays impulsive, it's selfish. It builds strategies and game plans to get something for itself, despite how that could negatively impact or affect others. It is very self-focused. And it just wants dominance, power, control to win. It's serving itself, you know? And so that's not an energy that we can count on, that we can rely on. It's an energy, again, that's harmful, that's destructive. When we look at, you know, statistically speaking, since men are the physical representation of this masculine energy, it's not limited to men and women, we all have masculine and feminine energies. But men being the physical representation of this energy, we can see it there, you know, that men are usually the ones, the perpetrators, like in violent crimes, in domestic violence, sexual assault, men are usually the perpetrators. And so it's just a little bit of insight into how this energy can be very harmful if it's not cultivated and developed, you know, evolved. So that's why we do have to be very careful and very mindful with how we use our masculine energy, because this energy has the ability, again, to support, to uplift, to protect certain structures, certain orders, laws, boundaries. It's a very rational energy, very logical energy. It has like this tunnel vision, you know, to bring about certain results, certain outcomes. And so it's just like, how are you directing that energy? Are you being selfish? Do you have some kind of plan, some kind of agenda? Again, that it's like self-serving. And again, both men and women can be utilizing this masculine energy in a way that's destructive and that's toxic. We all should learn how to use our masculine energy in a way that is going to be healthy and beneficial. It's serving and protecting something greater than ourselves. So in order to really be in that position where you have that kind of autonomy, that kind of control, you're not being swayed and tempted off of your path. It needs to be cultivated. And that's why they say that cultivating this masculine energy, cultivating this yang energy is one of the hardest energies to cultivate, because it does require a lot of discipline. You do have to restrict yourself from certain things sometimes. You cannot get tempted off of your path, because by not doing so, you are staying true to something higher, to something greater, like your morals, your standards, your character, who you want to be. And it's very easy to present as like an upstanding, upright, stand-up person in society when everyone's watching. But then, you know, behind the scenes or in the dark, you know, you give in to hedonism. And so that's not true, reliable energy. That's not true masculine energy that stays solid and stable, that you can rely on, that you can count on, that is honest, that is noble. A lot of people are like living these double lives, and it's because, yes, this energy is difficult to cultivate. It really doesn't care about like what's popular, what's in. It doesn't care about wanting to impress, you know, and like wanting validation, you know, like us socially speaking, culturally speaking, the things that give us praise and value and applause. It's not after those things, you know what I mean? Like in today's day and age, maybe that's like status, money, power, position, the cars that you drive, you know, your fashion, the house that you have, the access that you have, the partners that you have, the people around you who you're friends with, like all of these status symbols. Like masculine energy, like true yang, healthy masculine energy could care less. It doesn't care if people don't see it as cool, you know what I mean? If people don't understand it and write it off in some way, it's going to stay true no matter what. Needing that validation, needing that approval is actually a very feminine energy. Wanting to show off what you have for validation, for praise, because that's what's culturally like accepted. Culturally, that's what's being applauded and rewarded. And so naturally, as human beings, you know, we want belonging, we want validation. That's just a natural human need. But it is very feminine, you know, because that feminine energy does want to pull energy to it. It wants to attract things to it. Whereas that masculine energy, like again, it could care less. It stays solid, dependable, whether there's an audience or not. And that's why this is such an important energy to have, for all of us to have, because it really makes the difference between, you know, how you're impacting, whether it's in a way that's destructive and negative and toxic and self-serving and selfish and impulsive. strategic for its own gain, or whether it's in a way that is helpful, where you are upholding certain structures, boundaries that are protective of the right things, where there is strategy and logic and reason being implemented to continue to protect and provide and to be a solid, a stable, to create, containers where things like love and peace and unity and harmony can thrive. Okay, so these are some of the things that I think about when I'm contemplating masculine energies. So some of these themes could be coming up for us around this time. So with all of that being said, I'm gonna go ahead and start pulling the spread. You guys can take this time to take deep in and out breaths and just center your energy so that you can become open and receptive to the messages that are meant here for you today. Okay, so I've pulled out all of the oracle cards. Let me see what the gist of the message here is for us for this new moon in Aries, for those of us that are tuned in. So what I'm seeing here is that by connecting to our healthy masculine energy and really learning how to cultivate that energy and bring that energy online, like how to refine that energy, how to take, the lower toxic masculine energy that many of us could be putting out, putting forth, and learning instead to utilize that same energy, but like a more refined version of it. That's actually going to be the key to serve the world, to use our energy to protect, again, what needs protecting. And I'm seeing here the golden children. So I'm taking that as like what needs protection is children, women and kids. Innocence. It's innocence. That's what needs protecting. And so by bringing that healthy masculine energy online, that's a way that we can protect that energy, that we can serve. And not only that, but this is also how we can become energetically sovereign. It's at the end of the day being able to see the importance of this energy. You know what I mean? Because there's a want, a need almost to impact the world in a way that's going to be positive and peaceful. There's just like such a strong need for love, to value love and to want to protect it, to want to protect love, want to make sure that the environment, the conditions are right for love to be able to thrive, because we live in a society that tears down love, that builds barriers against it. And this toxic masculine energy has a big part to play in that. And so it's being able to wake up to that, to see that, to remember that, and to come back so that you can transform, that toxic energy, that toxic masculine energy. You can transform it and it can now be expressed in the highest version of itself. I'm seeing here that you owe this to people, like the people around you, the people that you have sacred contracts with, even the people that you are in intimate relationships with. Like you owe that to them, you owe it to them to consider them, to care for them, to love them, to protect them, instead of being self-serving and selfish and only look at things from your own perspective of like, what can I gain, what am I getting out of this, trying to be strategic to get something for yourself. To bring that competition energy into these intimate relationships. Competition energy is okay when we're talking about skill sets and work environments. I think there's a time and a place for competitive energy where it's healthy, but competitive energy really has no place in intimate relationships. That's not where that energy needs to be, And so it's you have a contract, you owe it to the people that you're in intimate connections with to cultivate this masculine energy, again, to protect them, protect their heart, be stable for them, be solid, be reliable, to create an environment, a container where love can thrive and can exist, where there's consideration, a place that's supportive of harmony and union, togetherness, oneness, love, you know what I mean? And by living your life this way, it's you're not only impacting the people that you're intimate with. And intimate doesn't necessarily mean sex, Intimate can also mean, people that you're really close with, that you know, that you care about. There's a bond, there's a connection. People that there's just like there's sacred contracts. And in order for you to fulfill your part of that contract, you need to have this energy on lock. It needs to be cultivated, because otherwise, like, you're not, you know, fulfilling like your end of the bargain, and you could be like letting somebody down or multiple people down, you know, because again, you're being distracted by your senses, you're chasing sensation, you could be hedonistic. So this is how we can like mature and grow and be wiser, more stable. We can see what's truly important, and this is what's going to help us, you know, show up in life in a way that's again like supportive, where we really are protecting, like we're utilizing our masculine energy to protect the things that need protecting. Okay, so let's see what the tarot has to say. They're saying there's like a big opportunity for us to shift gears, you know, to like switch the direction of what we've been doing, where we've been going, switch up the whole energy, the whole vibe. This is how we can get things back on track, how we can reach a certain kind of balance here. I'm getting like a lot of people are lazy. I think because we live in a culture that is so self-serving and is so like selfish, it can become like a burden. Like it's not easy to like show up for others and to like do right by others. You know what I mean? Even if like it's not really benefiting you, other than like you feeling good about yourself for staying true to your standards and your morals and your boundaries, like to your principles. It's like that intrinsic motivation is lacking. Like people are so used to like they just want something to gain, they want something for themselves. There's so many people that they don't want any strings attached, like they don't want like too much responsibility. And again, this masculine energy, it's like this fatherly energy, or like that husband kind of energy, that brother kind of energy, where again, like it's supposed to be protective. And yeah, like that does take needing to be self-sacrificial in certain instances. And I don't know, like I'm just getting like this feeling that people find that like so burdensome to do. It's like if something's not in it for them, they're like, oh. And that's what keeps you stuck. Like that's what keeps you unmoving. And that's what keeps everything around you toxic and imbalanced and out of place, is having like that limited perspective, having that worldview, being conditioned and programmed to that, you know, lens. It's like people don't just want to be good people for the sake of it. It's like, no, I'm only going to be a good person if like people are going to like see me do it, you know, like if I'm on camera and like I can be a good person, I can brag and like I can get like the fruits of that. It's like people don't want to be good people just because it's the right thing to do, even when there's no one watching, even when there's no applause, no praise. And that's such a problem. Like that's a real problem. They're saying like the praise, the applause, the gift, the reward is the protection of the innocence. And again, innocence for me, it's purity, pure energy, God energy, love, divinity, holiness. That's the reward. Because when that's being protected, everything starts to like align, everything starts to right itself. You will find peace, you know? It's like it's an illusion to think that any other way is going to bring you like true joy and happiness. It's like, no, like I'm trying to like, you know, be selfish because I want to get this position of power, or I want to get status, I want to get money, access, validation, approval, attention, you know, that's what's going to make me happy. And it's not. It's not. It never is. And so when we can see like what's really going to bring us peace and happiness inside is when everything is balanced, when everything is harmonious. And to start that process, we need to protect this energy, which I think can mostly be depicted by like feminine energy. We need to protect that feminine energy, you know? And by doing that, when things start to align themselves, to right themselves, to balance, you're gonna find peace. You're gonna find yourself in a place where you're happy and you're proud of yourself. Maybe you're not gonna have all of the fanciest things and money and status and power, but it's like the things that you do have, the things that you have supported, that you have protected and uplifted. That's what helps you to find peace. And that's what brings internal joy and happiness. It's like so many of us don't know what's going to bring us joy and happiness because we're operating from our ego. So we're like chasing what we think is gonna bring us joy and happiness, when the only thing that can really bring you true joy and happiness is peace. And you're at peace when your environment, when the things around you are supportive of that, are supportive of your peace. When you have people that you can actually rely on and count on that love you. When you yourself, are someone that's trustworthy. When you are abiding by good practices. When you're a good person, doing the right thing, when you're honest and noble. When you are serving something higher, something greater than yourself. That's when you can come home. You know what I mean? That's when it's going to feel like home, feel safe and secure. And they're saying like that's the key. Any other path is going to lead to emptiness, to lack, to sadness, to dis-ease. And so yeah, this is your opportunity to again like shift gears and move, start moving in the right direction if you have been on the wrong path, on the wrong track. So yeah, you guys, that's what I'm getting, it's just our willingness. Like they want to show us that we have the ability to create a safe space, to create a safe container. We have to get that masculine part of us online in order to do that so that we can protect and show up for the right things, support the right things, fight for the right things, defend the right things. And it will create a safe space where love can thrive, connection, purity, innocence, that feminine energy. And that we all have the ability to do it. It's just some of us have lost it. And it's because, we are in this world, and this world can definitely erase our inclination. But we have it. It exists inside of all of us. And it's just something that we have to strengthen. It's like a muscle we have to strengthen. We have to work on it so that we can really work on our relationships, the relationships in our life, the contracts that we have with people, so we can transform them to be healthy, or create an environment, the circumstances where these healthy unions can exist. And we got this Merlin cosmic knowledge. So yeah, that has to do with like astrology. So something about the astrology could really be directing us to some sort of insight, wisdom. So check where your Aries house is, or maybe this is a good time to get an astrological reading. I don't do astrological readings, I do tarot readings, so maybe this is also a good time for a tarot reading. So yeah, you guys, that is today's message for this new moon in Aries. I'm super excited to revisit this energy in 6 months' time to see how it's evolved from here. But that's all I have for it today. I truly hope that this has served you. Thank you so much for sharing your time and your energy with me. Like I mentioned, I do personal readings, so if you'd like to dive deeper into your specific situation, I'd love to help you with that. I'll leave my email in the description box below so that you can contact me if you're interested. Take good care of yourselves, and until next time, bye.